There is a moment, quiet, sharp, and unforgettable, when a person finally looks at their financial life and realizes that the weight they have been carrying is far heavier than they ever admitted. Dave Ramsey begins the Total Money Makeover with this moment, not with spreadsheets or formulas, but with confession, his own collapse, his own pride, and his own painful awakening. He tells the story of rising to financial success in his 20s only to lose everything because he built wealth on a foundation of debt. And in that moment of loss, he did not find despair, he found a new philosophy, one that would redefine not only his life, but the lives of millions who later followed his teaching. Ramsey frames the book like a storyteller, guiding the reader through a battlefield. He describes debt as an enemy most people have befriended without realizing its danger. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans, student loans, mortgages structured beyond reason. Society, he says, has normalized financial chaos so deeply that debt is seen as oxygen. People wake up each morning and walk into their jobs not out of passion, but because their payments drag them there like chains. And so the journey begins not with money, but with truth. Financial transformation is impossible until one admits that debt, not income, is the real problem. He uses vivid analogies: the overweight man who blames his genes instead of his diet, the runner who claims they have no time to train, to show that people are often experts at avoiding responsibility. Ramsey tells stories of couples who earned six-figure salaries yet could not meet their monthly obligations, families drowning in car payments, and individuals who believed they were managing because they made minimum payments on credit cards. The problem, Ramsey insists, is not intelligence, but denial. True change requires confronting the mirror. Once this emotional threshold is crossed, Ramsey introduces his famous baby steps, though he never presents them as cold instructions. Instead, he paints them as a journey, a pilgrimage from chaos to peace, from stress to stability. He describes how the first step is building a small emergency fund, not thousands, just a starter cushion, because life does not wait for financial plans to mature. He tells stories of people whose financial progress collapsed because a flat tire or medical bill forced them back into debt. A starter emergency fund, he explains, is like a shield for a soldier. It will not win the war, but it will protect you long enough to keep fighting. Then comes the part of the story that feels like the turning of the tide, the debt snowball. Ramsey recounts how people often try to eliminate debt by focusing on interest rates, only to lose motivation and give up. Humans, he teaches, are not mathematical creatures. They are emotional ones. So instead of paying the highest interest debt first, he urges people to pay the smallest balance first. This quick victory provides momentum, confidence, and a surge of hope. He offers example after example: couples who eliminated tens of thousands of dollars in a year, individuals who paid off credit cards, student loans, and car notes with a determination they never thought possible. The smallest debt falls, then the next, until the snowball becomes unstoppable. Ramsey describes the transformation that occurs during this phase: families selling items on weekends, taking extra jobs, cutting expenses, cooking at home, and discovering that sacrifice is a temporary but necessary companion. He says that financial peace is never achieved by convenience. It is achieved by intensity. Debt freedom in his narrative becomes less of a financial goal and more of a personal revolution. As the storyteller moves further into the journey, Ramsey guides the reader into building a fully funded emergency fund, usually equivalent to 3 to 6 months of living expenses. He speaks of this fund not as a financial cushion, but as psychological liberation. With full reserves, the constant stress of what if disappears. Suddenly, a job loss becomes a challenge rather than a disaster. a medical bill becomes manageable rather than catastrophic. He gives examples of families who survived economic downturns with grace because they had prepared long before trouble arrived. Once the foundation is secured, Ramsey leads the reader into the world of investing. But unlike technical finance books, he approaches investing through stories. Ordinary workers, teachers, small business owners, who built wealth through consistent, long-term contributions to mutual funds and retirement accounts. He repeats a theme throughout the narrative. Wealth is not the result of brilliance, but of discipline. Small, steady investing over decades turns into enormous financial strength. He shares stories of individuals who retired millionaires despite modest incomes, simply because they invested consistently and avoided debt traps. From here, the narrative expands into home ownership. Ramsey encourages paying off the house early, describing the emotional and psychological freedom that comes with living in a home fully owned. He paints the picture of people who burned their mortgage documents in celebration, couples who freed thousands of dollars each month, and retirees who entered old age without fear. He tells these stories to show that owning a home outright is not merely a financial advantage, it is a spiritual shift in one's relationship with stability. Then, as the journey reaches its final chapters, Ramsey shifts his tone from urgency to inspiration. Once the debts are gone, the savings are secured, and the investments are growing, he introduces the ultimate goal: living and giving with abundance. He describes people who donate generously, support their communities, help family members in crisis, and give anonymously in ways that transform lives. Ramsey reveals that the highest form of wealth is not accumulation, it is generosity. He connects this to his own life, recalling how his earlier financial downfall taught him humility, and how rebuilding taught him compassion. But Ramsey does not ignore the pitfalls and blind spots along the way. He warns that many people misunderstand his teachings, thinking the journey is about deprivation or that investing can wait indefinitely. He stresses that financial transformation requires both patience and urgency. Patience in results, urgency in action. And he cautions readers that the culture around them will not understand their choices. Friends will question the lack of credit cards. Relatives will criticize the budgeting. Coworkers will mock the sacrifices. Yet over time, those same people often return, asking how to escape their own financial storms. He ends the story with a powerful truth. Money is not the real subject of the book. Behavior is. Choices are. Character is. Ramsey insists that anyone, regardless of income, background, or past mistakes, can transform their financial life if they commit to discipline, honesty, and perseverance. He leaves the reader with the image of a person standing on the other side of the journey, free from debt, confident in the future, empowered, generous, and no longer enslaved by financial fear. It is at this point that the narrative returns to where it began, the quiet moment of realization. But now the weight that once felt crushing is replaced by clarity. The path that once seemed impossible is now illuminated. And what Dave Ramsey ultimately delivers is not just a method, nor merely a story, but a complete reordering of how a person sees money, responsibility, and freedom. And here, as the final chapter of the Total Money Makeover settles into silence, the reader realizes that this book was never just about money. It was about identity, discipline, redemption. It was a journey that began in chaos and ended in clarity, that moved from fear to peace, from overwhelm to control. And in that quiet moment, the moment that the weight that once crushed you finally lifts, you understand that the real transformation didn't happen in your bank account. It happened inside you. And if you felt even a piece of your own life in these stories, if something in this journey stirred you, challenged you, or opened your eyes, then don't let this be the end. Follow the channel to continue this path with me, step by step. Hit subscribe, because here you'll find the stories that reshape how you think about money. Tap like if the message resonated, and let's keep building a financial mindset that cannot be shaken. This isn't just another video. It's the beginning of your transformation.